Nobody knows how to make a VR game. Well, some do, but most of them don't have a clue. Okay, well, some of them have a clue. Basically, making a game for VR is hard as shit. It's not as easy as, oh, just shove VR support into Skyrim. It doesn't work like that. In fact, everyone needs to forget everything they think they know about video games. Hundreds of indie developers are all trying to make the Super Mario 64 of VR, and a few of them have come close, but I don't think we're there yet. Speaking of Nintendo, I think they're looking at Lucky's Tale right now and saying, damn it, that could have been our game. Only, good. AAA developers aren't ready to dump millions into budgeting an 80-hour-long RPG for a new, unproven piece of tech. Nintendo even more so, since the Virtual Boy was like 2 weeks ago for them. So instead of beautiful, long adventure games with solid melee mechanics, we have indies making these crazy yet short, experimental, psychedelic puzzle VR game things. And that's the fun of what's happening right now. Indies have the least amount of risk when it comes to trying out new ideas, giving them the chance to make that first big breakout success. But they also have the greatest chance to release something that's utter dog shit. With every good VR game out right now, there are 5 meh games and 20 yo, what are you even doing games. I think the attraction that the large install base Steam has, plus a non-fragmented user base with included motion controllers, has made a lot of developers flock to designing games for the Vive and for Steam, and also this being a good reason.
So you get a Vive.
I'm completely blown away by the Vive. I think room scale VR is the way to go moving forward, and it's unfortunate Oculus has put that thought on the back burner. Little short disclaimer, I do think the Rift is a fantastic device as well. I've been pretty vocal about some of the moves Oculus has made lately, but that doesn't mean I think their product is a bad one. It really is a great piece of kit. So if you're firmly planted in one camp, unplant yourself. Those clickbait, which VR headset is better, videos are garbage. And they're ruining the chance of success for this new tech by spreading that console war cancer. So what makes a VR game good? What makes a game good? In one word, juice. What is juice? I was recently thinking about why Gears of War has the most satisfying headshot, and it wasn't until watching a short GDC talk about how to make your game juicy that I understood why that was. These developers explained it so simply. Juice. Juice in a VR game is particle effects. It's haptic vibrations. It's a cool reload system. It's perfect hand tracking. It's feedback to the user that what they're doing is badass. And there are only a few experiences that do this well. Space Pirate Trainer is without a doubt the best shooter I've played. That's going up against Doom, that's going up against Unreal Tournament, Gettysburg, Armored Warfare, all of them. Oh, okay, well maybe not better than Gettysburg, but Space Pirate Trainer does something those other games wish they could do, and that's making you feel like you're in complete control of what's happening around you. That's the magic of VR. You really are in control. See that gold coin? Reach out and grab that shit. Bullets coming at you, duck under that shit. It's awesome. But there's more to Space Pirate Trainer than a slow-mo effect. There's something rewarding about knowing you just did a 4x combo, or when you've damaged a robot but haven't quite killed it. Sound design is super important, and it's not something you truly notice until you notice that it's missing. Think about Battlefield's punchy gun sounds, and compare that to Hour of Victory. Space Pirate Trainer hits all the right notes. Neat pew-pew sounds, crunchy hit marker sounds, satisfying explosions, a sick D&B soundtrack that enhances the sound of lasers whizzing by your head. It's all there. There's no other game out there that makes you feel better than physically aiming at a flying robot that's 75 feet away from you, hearing an opposing robot getting ready to mess up your day, reaching behind you to pull out your shield, block those incoming shots, and then turn around to pop that first robot right in its eye. It's those moments that can only be conveyed through QuickTime events or an abstract button press in traditional games. So you don't want VR because you think the motion controls are gimmicky. No, you do want these motion controls. VR itself is not a gimmick. But there are certainly gimmicky mechanics in VR that can ruin an experience. So here's the breakdown. The combat in Vanishing Realms is a gimmick. Teleporting in Vanishing Realms is a gimmick. Teleporting in budget cuts is not a gimmick. The combat in Hover Junkers is not a gimmick. The difference is that both the teleport in budget cuts and the combat in Hover Junkers add to the experience. They break down a larger game into smaller mini-games. Vanishing Realms allows you to teleport the map without any consequence, cooldown, or the need to worry about an enemy attacking you right after you teleport. The teleport in budget cuts also doesn't have a cooldown, but each teleport slows the game's pace to a crawl. It requires you to look around a preview of your teleport's destination, ensuring you'll be safe from any robot patrols. Hover Junker's reload system also slows down the pace of the game. by requiring you to kick out your revolver cylinder, plug each bullet back in individually, and then physically flick the cylinder closed to return fire on your opponent. The enjoyment of each battle comes down to counting how many shots your enemy has fired, realizing they'll need to reload soon, then popping out of cover to return fire. Vanishing Realms combat is disappointingly broken. The developer intended players to engage with strategic strikes at your opponent when their shield is low and their body exposed. The freedom of hand-track controllers broke this. As soon as a player realizes they can furiously waggle the controller to stunlock a skeleton, there's no need for deliberate attacks. But I think I'm being a little bit too hard on the Vanishing Realms developer. So if you're not familiar with Kelly Bailey, I'll give you a quick background on the Valve developer. Kelly Bailey is a composer, musician, game designer, conceptual artist, and programmer. He's mostly known for his work on the creation of all of Half-Life's music and sound effects. Bailey also built Half-Life 1's test chamber sequence with John Guthrie over 48 straight hours. Oh, he's also the literal face of Gordon Freeman. So Bailey left Valve at around 2011, yet rejoined sometime after development of Ricochet 2 began in 2012.
Ricochet 2 started development.
Even after the Steam Dev Days confirmation in 2014 that Kelly rejoined Valve, he left yet again to start his own studio, Indimo Labs. Half-Life 3 unconfirmed. So Vanishing Realms is an early access title, which has this unfortunate but sometimes deserved stigma about the preview program. Kelly has proven his design knowledge in both Half-Life 1 and 2, and there's a high level of hype surrounding this new game. He's an obsessive worker, as shown in his tenure with Half-Life, and also in a recent Forbes interview, revealing he had spent 16 hours a day over the past 8 months designing the Zelda-esque VR adventure. I think the potential for a fantastic game is here. It just needs more time and design changes, ones that I'm sure Bailey's aware of. Indimo Labs use the currently common VR locomotion mechanic of teleporting to move players to areas outside of their physical play spaces. This mechanic can break a game if it's not done correctly, or is masked well enough to not be an issue. As mentioned before, Budget Cuts does two things well with its teleport system. Patrolling guards will keep you on your toes well enough to force you to scan your surroundings before finalizing the teleport. The teleporter also has a short range, easily made known to the player with a flashy blue arc. The very first time a player teleports in Budget Cuts, they know two things: that they are unable to teleport across the level, and each teleport requires two buttons to be pressed, one to initiate the teleport, and another to confirm. Simply adding a second step to the teleport could cut down on the level of spam that's allowed in Vanishing Realms' nearly instant teleport system. I'd also like to have Vanishing Realms require the player to aim their teleport in an arc, rather than paint a linear guide that shows your destination on the ground. Each teleport would then need to be aimed, fired, and activated, instead of the current system, which has you holding the controller in one direction and spamming the touchpad to dash out of danger. If a player is engaged in battle, limit the distance they can move away. Set up a series of walls that prevent the user from dodging arrows. You've given the player a shield. Make them use it. Slower teleporting means that the player is more likely to stand and fight, greatly enhancing the focus on the enemies in front of them. Combat and mining are absolutely awesome the first time you try them, but are disappointing once you realize you can Wiimote spam the skeletons in ore. Because the controllers don't have much mass to them, this is kind of a harder solution to find. My initial thought was to require the player to exert a certain amount of force to register a hit, with more power granting a higher chance to trigger a critical hit. I still think this could work, but the opportunity to cheese the system is still there. Players could surpass the velocity threshold required for a crit easily if they repeatedly swung the controller over about 3 to 4 inches in physical space. The counter for this: if a player doesn't begin a swing from a great enough distance from the enemy, then the attack would graze their armor. Additional combat ideas have also been proposed, like a stamina bar that depletes with each swing. Waggling the controller would deplete the bar quickly, so potential attacks would be left dealing 0 damage. I think with these two changes, we'd see many more interesting things from Vanishing Realms. The game mechanics would be solidified, allowing for more memorable enemy encounters. The revised teleport would add a bit of juice to the locomotion, and the combat would become much more impactful. VR is great at properly conveying scale. The enemies in Vanishing Realms truly tower over you, and a revamped combat system would instill tension in the player, requiring thought before mindlessly flailing about. Aside from the two shortcomings, Vanishing Realms provides an overwhelming level of atmosphere that has to be seen within a headset to fully understand. Smashing pots and dipping under pendulums is wildly satisfying. Collecting coins from defeated enemies by physically reaching out and collecting them provides that level of juice that I was hoping for. I think that even with an early access title, Vanishing Realms will become that Ocarina of Time for VR. We just need to give it more time.